painful and difficult. But on the other hand, I didn't have any illusions or illusions about the Soviet system and communist or socialist system. It's the most rotten and unworking system in the world. Some people call it state capitalism, socialism, centralized planning, whatever. It doesn't really matter what kind of name you attach to the system. Basically, if you're a religious person, it's a devilish, satanistic system which appeals only to the most primitive, negative side of human nature. The basis of that system is denial of private property, human dignity, and personal responsibility, and of course any religious affiliation of a human being to God as a supreme being. My dissatisfaction, disillusionment, if you can call it, because I never was illusioned with the communism, started as early as from age 6, I guess. The first shock was after the Second World War, when most of the children of my age understood that United States is the friend with whom together Soviet people defeated Nazism, German fascism, all of a sudden turned into an enemy, and all of a sudden the propaganda turned 180 degrees around, and we were brainwashed in the spirit of hatred to everything which is American. But how could you explain to a child of 6 years old who owes his survival to American spam, condensed milk, egg powder, and things which probably people never remember because nobody eats them these days, spam meat, you know what I'm talking about? How can you explain to them that these delicious things came from an enemy who wants to subvert and destroy us? It's impossible, because the child remembers when he was hungry, he was eating spam and drinking condensed American milk with the American eagle on the label. So all the efforts of the Soviet propaganda to convince me that America is bad was futile, naturally. That was the first shock. The second was this 20th Congress of the Soviet Communist Party, when Khrushchev revealed the atrocities of Stalin, terrorism, and murder, systematic murder of millions of innocent people. That was another greatest shock. And the third shock, of course, when I was already grown up, a student, invasion into Czechoslovakia in 1968. That was the last point. And when I was in India, acting as a Soviet official, a Soviet diplomat, I understood that sooner or later I have to defect and to explain what exactly I was doing in India. I fell in love with that country because at that time this country didn't do any harm to any neighbors, least of all to the Soviet Union. And yet we did so much harm to that country that I decided to defect and explain, at first to Indians, then to American politicians, intelligence communities, and media. Unfortunately, I didn't have much success because my stories were treated with a great skepticism. I was called paranoid, McCarthyist, fascist, Cold War maniac, and other names which I don't want to mention here. And it took me quite a number of years to understand that I'm talking to people who are trying to prevent average American from knowing the truth about communism.